Millionaire hailed a taxi at 3 a.m. The shocking reunion with his college love. Never told, in the dark, peppered city streets, a sleek black taxi rolled up, its headlights cutting through the fog like searching hands. It stopped, and a frazzled millionaire, disheveled yet still opulent, slipped inside. It was 3 a.m., and everything felt electric, charged with potential and secrets. Who knew what past could haunt him on this ghostly hour? He stared into the rearview mirror, his heart racing like the engine beneath him. He was on a mission, a reunion that could change everything, a collision of fate and lost love. This wasn't just any cab ride. It was an invitation back to the brightest corners of his mind, a dive into nostalgia that tasted bittersweet, like old wines in forgotten cellars. He could almost hear her laughter, the college girl who once lit up his life and had, for years, haunted his dreams. The thought of seeing her twisted his gut, a mix of excitement and dread coiling tight. She had always been the girl with the angelic smile, the one he'd let slip away, and now, after years of being lost in his riches, he was ready for a reckoning. As the taxi slipped through the veil of night, he recalled the tales that brushed around her, stories that she was still working at the very cafe where they'd spent so many hours, a little on the edge of town, a place where they once promised they'd never lose each other. But time changes everything, doesn't it? A dollar bill couldn't buy love, yet here he was, searching for something that had nearly slipped through his fingers like sand. A flash of neon lights caught his attention. They were approaching the cafe. His pulse quickened. What would she say? Would she greet him with open arms or cold indifference? The atmosphere in the cab thickened, tension swelling, making it hard to breathe. Suddenly, a movement in the shadows outside caught his eye, a figure, almost ethereal, stepping out from under the awning. His heart sank. Could it be her? The cab slowed to a crawl, the driver eyeing him through the mirror, waiting. His thoughts were a jumbled mix of hope and fear, pacing like wild horses in a storm. They locked eyes for only a second, and that moment felt like eternity. What if she didn't recognize him? What if this was too late? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The car stopped, and he could feel the weight of the moment pressing on his chest. The door opened. Miles between them collapsed into inches. She stood there, a silhouette against the soft glow of the cafe sign, hair cascading like a waterfall, eyes wide and searching. The world around him faded into a hushed silence, distant laughter, clinking glasses, and the rustling of leaves became muffled sounds, like the atmosphere of an old movie. But then, something unexpected happened. She turned, startled, as if she sensed a presence behind her. Someone else was with her, a shadow, looming, almost protective. The sight shot a bolt of electricity through him. Who was he? What did he mean for the reunion that was all but inevitable? Would this encounter shatter the dreams he had carried for years? As he stepped out of the taxi, heart hammering, he couldn't shake the feeling that the universe was watching, holding its breath. This was it. The moment he had both dreaded and longed for. Every beat felt like the prelude to a storm. Would he chase the storm, or run away from it? He took a hesitant step forward, the cool night air rattling his resolve. The unseen figure looming over her shifted slightly, a protective stance that stirred an instinctual flare of jealousy. The familiarity of her presence ignited memories, moments stolen during stolen kisses, whispered secrets over steaming cups of coffee. But this felt different. She spoke first, her voice as warm and inviting as he remembered. Is that? Her eyes widened, recognition flooding her features, softening the lines of uncertainty etched on her face. But before she could finish, the shadow beside her stepped forward, cutting through the burgeoning warmth like a knife. You shouldn't be here, he said, his voice low and commanding. It sent a jolt through the millionaire, tightening the knot in his stomach. Who was this man? The air turned heavy, charged with the sudden, visceral tension of a challenge. I need to talk to her, he stammered, the rush of urgency spilling out in desperation. The man folded his arms, a wall of solid resolve. And why would she want to talk to you? His words hung in the air, sharp and accusatory. All at once, the rich memories became a foreign landscape, clouded by confusion and doubt. He glanced at her, wanting to see her reaction, hoping she would defend him, but instead, she looked torn, caught in a strange web spun from the past. James, I don't know, she started, glancing between the two men. There was a crack in her voice that echoed through him. Please, it's important, he said, stepping closer, desperate to close the gap. The distance felt monumental, filled with years of silence and regret. But the man shifted, blocking his path. What could possibly matter after all this time? More than you know. James's voice broke slightly, cracking wide open the floodgates of emotion he thought he had sealed. I came to find you, to try and fix what I broke. I couldn't let it end like this. The cafe's glow cast flickering shadows, illuminating the space between them. His heart hammered painfully, each pulse felt loud and deafening. He had imagined this moment 1,000 times, rehearsed every line, every word he'd say to bring her back into his life. But facing her now, he felt foolish, exposed. What if she turned away, rejected him with nothing but cold silence? She met his gaze, and for a fleeting moment, he saw the shimmer of hope reflected in her eyes, a fragile light that clung to memories of their shared youthful bliss. But just as quickly, the moment slipped. The man beside her straightened, casting a protective glare that sent a chill through him. Let us not do this here, she said, her tone softening but still laced with tension. Can we talk somewhere else? James nodded, feeling 10,000 emotions swirling in a storm within him. Could it be possible? The chance to heal, to begin again, however complicated it might be. As they walked toward the cafe doors, tension settled like a thick fog around them, heavy with memories that would either bind them together or tear them apart anew. The stranger's eyes bore into him, his intentions cloaked in mystery. What if he had a hidden agenda? James stole a glance at her again, her expression almost unreadable now, and his heartbeat quickened. Would she really choose him over whatever life she had built over this new shadow? Just then, the night grew darker, as if sensing the pivot their lives were taking. The world around them faded away, all that mattered was that fragile thread holding them together as they stood at the precipice of possibility, and in that fragile moment of hope stood a question: just how far would they be willing to go to uncover what lay beneath the surface of their intertwined fates? This was only the beginning of a thrilling new chapter, but what would it reveal? The streetlights flickered overhead as they stepped outside. James felt the chill of the night wrap around him like a heavy blanket. The air felt charged and electric. He continued to glance at her, searching her face for answers, but her expression only deepened his uncertainty. Where to? The stranger demanded, a hint of impatience threading through his voice. Just a block down, please, she replied, closing her eyes briefly, as if gathering the strength to confront what was coming. James followed her lead, aware of the tension radiating from the man. He felt like an intruder in a scene meant for reconciliation, awkward and uncertain. They stood under the dim glow of a streetlight, shadows stretching across the pavement, as they awaited the arrival of a taxi. What's your intention here, James? Her voice broke the silence, cutting through the cold and sharp, like glass. After everything, he swallowed hard. I thought you deserved the truth. Her brow knitted in confusion and caution. The truth about what? About why you vanished without a word. He flinched at her words, each one laced with bitterness that could drown out all the sweetness of their past. I made mistakes. I wasn't ready then. Her gaze softened, just for a heartbeat. You weren't ready. Or you didn't care. The accusation hung in the air like a storm cloud. I did care. More than you know. I thought about you every day. But her attention snapped back to the stranger, and James felt the moment slip away. The taxi pulled up, its headlights shining bright, illuminating their troubled faces. "Get in," the man ordered her, a hint of urgency creeping into his tone. She hesitated, looking back at James. "Can you give us a moment?" The man's jaw tightened, and he shot James a glare filled with warning. "We really should be going." "No, please, we can talk." James took a step toward her, desperately trying to bridge the space that felt insurmountable. The man moved as if to intervene, but she raised a hand. "I need to hear him out," she insisted firmly, her eyes igniting with a determination that both thrilled and terrified him. "Fine," the man relented, but only after a tight-lipped frown creased his face. "But don't take too long." As the taxi idled, the world around them faded to a murmur, and all that existed were the three of them, the tension-filled spaces thicker than the air itself. "Why now?" she pressed, folding her arms. "Why come back when you've built a new life?" James hesitated, guilt twinging in his gut. "Because I couldn't bear the thought of you thinking I didn't care. I need you to know I was pushed into decisions I didn't want. This life, it's not who I am." Her eyes searched his, looking for proof. "Who are you, then?" He took a deep breath, every emotion flooding back, the joy they shared, the pain they endured. "I'm still the guy who fell in love with you over late-night talks and starlit drives. I never stopped loving you." The words hung heavy between them, hope blooming and wilting all at once. In that vulnerable silence, the seconds ticked away, and the need for resolution sat like a giant anchor, pulling him deeper into the depths of what could be, but the man shifted, a low growl in his throat. "Time's up." James's heart raced. Their moment was fragibly slipping away. He had one chance, one last attempt to reach her. "I can help you. Whatever's going on, I want to help." Just then, something flickered in her eyes, a mix of uncertainty and hope. The tension of the moment coiled tighter. "Help with what?" she asked, her voice dipping into something almost conspiratorial. Before he could respond, a loud crash echoed from the alley behind them, making them jump. James spun around, adrenaline surging, a sudden, chaotic shift that shattered the fragile moment they had created. What was that? The bodyguard stiffened, eyes narrowed. But James felt a wave of icy dread washing over him. It wasn't just an accident, it felt deliberate, and as he turned back to her, a realization dawned: whatever secrets she held now threatened to rise to the surface, and none of them were ready for it. "What is going on, Sarah?" he asked, his voice dropping to a whisper. Her eyes widened, panic flickering in her gaze. I didn't want you to find out like this." As a figure emerged from the shadows, the truths intertwined like an intricate web, ready to unravel. James could feel the entirety of their past crashing against the present with the force of a tidal wave. And now he was faced with the unbearable weight of a reality he had no idea how to navigate. What lay hidden in the shadows of their past, waiting to be uncovered? The figure stepped into the light, and James's breath caught in his throat. It was a man, tall and dark, with an unmistakable air of menace about him. He came forward, silently assessing the situation, like a predator sizing up his prey. "Get in the car, Sarah," he demanded, voice low and threatening, the kind that sent shivers down James's spine. "Who the hell are you?" James shot back, instincts flaring. He stepped in front of Sarah, barely able to keep the tremor from his hands. "What do you want from her?" The man smirked, an unsettling grin that revealed too much confidence. "You're the past, James. And she needs to focus on the future. Not whatever this is." James couldn't tear his eyes from that smile, the way it twisted with malice. "You don't get to decide what she needs," he retorted, feeling his blood boil. Every fiber of his being screamed to protect Sarah, to bring back the warmth of their shared laughter that now felt like a distant memory. Sarah pulled at his arm, her grip shaking. "You need to listen to him, James. It's not safe, not safe." He echoed, disbelief surging in him. You want to go with him? Suddenly, a sharp sound pierced the night, another crash, much closer this time. The stranger jerked his head toward the noise, momentarily distracted. James seized the chance. Tell me the truth, he urged, looking into Sarah's eyes, clinging to that flicker of hope. What's happening here? James, the softness in her voice made his stomach churn. It's complicated, there are things you don't understand. Then help me understand. His desperation spilled over, and he could feel the weight of the moment. You can trust me. Whatever's going on, whatever danger you're in, I can get in the car, Sarah. The stranger barked, cutting off her response. His patience eclipsed, he moved closer, almost menacing now. Just as he reached for her arm, Sarah stepped back, keeping her eyes on James. I'm trying to protect you from this, protect me. James felt the anger boiling in his chest, fighting against the fear threatening to choke him. You're the one in danger. Then, as if on cue, a loud hissing sound erupted from the alley, followed by shouts that merged with the unsettling pounding of his heart. James instinctively took a step forward, ready to intervene. He was sick of being sidelined. Stop! Sarah cried, a wild look crossing her face. You don't know what he can do. The stranger's eyes glinted maliciously. I've got people watching and they don't take kindly to meddlers. Meddlers? You're the one threatening her. Before James could react, the air filled with more shouts, and from further down the alley, shadows raced toward them. Panic seized him as he realized their situation was spiraling out of control. Sarah was trembling now, glancing between the men, trapped in a web she hadn't intended to weave. Just tell me, who is he? His voice strained, longing for the truth she had hidden behind those eyes. What are you involved in? Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, and James squinted, heart racing. It was another man, dressed in all black, and just behind him, two more figures flanked out. We've got to go. The new arrival shouted. The stranger cursed, eyes darting to where the newcomers approached. We need to leave, Sarah. Now. But the look in Sarah's eyes was one of conflicted emotions, fear, desperation, and something more. What was she holding back? Please, she whispered, tears forming. Just trust me. Trust. James didn't know if he could. Not when her world felt more dangerous than ever. Everything around him began to blur as chaos erupted. He had to make a choice. Back away and leave her to whatever fate awaited her, or fight like hell to hold on to her, and just then, something in him snapped. No. I'm not leaving without you. As sirens wailed in the distance, the tension ramped up a notch. The alley suddenly became a dangerous battleground. It was now or never. What desperate secrets would be unearthed in the face of looming danger? And would James find the truth he sought, or just deeper shadows? The chaos intensified, the air thick with urgency and dread. James felt it all surge within him, a mix of fear for Sarah and anger at this stranger who dared to impose his will. He clenched his fists, unwilling to back down. Get behind me, he shouted to Sarah as the group of dark figures approached. The alley echoed with the sounds of hurried footsteps, grim voices mingling with distant sirens that grew louder. The stranger's gaze flickered back and forth, calculating his next move. James, please. Sarah's voice trembled, her eyes shimmered with unshed tears. You don't understand the stakes. He shook his head, the weight of her plea colliding with the resolve in his heart. Then help me understand. We can face this together. Before she could respond, the newcomer, the man in black, dashed forward, grabbing James's arm. Let us go. We don't have time. Who are you? James barked, jerking away. Why should I trust you? Because if you don't, you'll risk everything. The man's intense gaze bore into him. We're out of time. James could see real fear etched on Sarah's face, and his heart felt like a stone in his chest. What is it? What s worth this? The words came out harsher than he intended, but everything was spiraling. Then the stranger from earlier scowled, enough games. Get in the car now. He made a sudden, aggressive movement towards Sarah, who recoiled as if expecting a blow. James! She cried, stepping away from him. You need to run. Panic flooded his mind. This wasn't just a random encounter, it felt deeper, like they had careened into the outskirts of a nightmare crafted for them alone. Was this stranger someone she had once known? Someone she had feared? You won't get away with this, James warned, voice low, asserting himself despite the mounting despair. Just then, one of the dark figures lunged forward, aiming to grab Sarah. James reacted instinctively, throwing himself between her and danger, fists clenched tight. You think you're protecting her? The stranger laughed, his tone tainted with dark satisfaction. You're just a boy playing hero without any knowledge of what you're facing. Before James could respond, the sound of glass shattering filled the space, stinging sharply in the air. He turned toward the noise, spotting a group of people emerging from a nearby bar. They had seen and heard everything. Their curiosity sparked, but as they caught sight of the escalating tension, uncertainty swept over their faces like a shadow. Let her go. A man from the group shouted, stepping forward hesitantly. He was tall and muscular, but his bravery came across as shaky against the real threat standing before them. Stay back. The dark stranger barked, his eyes narrowing. Are you crazy? The man protested, glancing between James and his opponent. That girl is in trouble. Guys, we need to leave. Now. The man in black urged again, looking over James's shoulder as if expecting more trouble. James froze, realizing the intensity of the situation. Fear gnawed at him, but anger erupted instead. No one is taking her anywhere without a fight, he vowed, adrenaline surging through his veins. But just as he spoke, sirens reached a deafening crescendo, and bright lights illuminated the alley from behind. The dark figures hesitated, unsure if they should run or confront the approaching law enforcement. James, please. Sarah pleaded again, desperate. Her voice cracked, and it broke something deep inside him. The strangers exchanged glances, weighing their options. In that split second, an instinctual knowledge surged in James. The time for grappling with trust was gone. They had to make a choice now, either surrender to fear or fight desperately for the truth, and out of the corner of his eye, he noticed something glinting on the ground, a glimmer of light reflecting off metal. What was it? A weapon? A clue? Could it hold the key to his next move? Without thinking, James lunged forward, but as he did, one of the dark figures made a rash decision. His fist flew towards Sarah, aiming to silence her and take her away. Everything in that moment spiraled into chaos. What shadows lay beyond this alley? What truths would he uncover as he delved deeper into the night's chaos? And would it cost him everything he held dear? James dove toward the glimmer, adrenaline igniting his muscles as he snatched the metallic object just as the dark figure's fist connected with nothing but air. A loud gasp erupted from Sarah, and time seemed to slow. The glimmering item was a heavy, cold wrench, a poor weapon, but in this moment, it felt like power in his grip. Get back! James shouted, brandishing the wrench, its cold weight reassuring in his hand. He turned, eyeing the approaching dark figures. The night felt thick, almost suffocating, shrouded in shadows that seemed to close in around them. James, put that down. Sarah cried, backing away, fear dancing in her eyes. No. If they want you, they'll have to get through me first. He channeled every ounce of determination he had into his words. Each tense breath sank deeper as the dark figures loomed closer, their intentions unmistakable. The man in black shifted, his eyes darting nervously between the alley entrance and the bobbing lights of the police cars. We don't have time for this. Trust me, you'll want to take my advice. His voice quivered with urgency, slicing through the tense air like a knife. James hesitated, torn desperate between his instincts and the trust he did not yet feel. It felt like a chapter meant for a movie, but they were real people, real lives in the balance. "And what do you even know?" he fired back, his heart hammering in his chest. The sight of Sarah's distress ignited something primal in him, propelling his courage. In a flash, the dark figures surged forward, a wave of dark intent crashing against the fragile shore of their moment. Suddenly, the muscular man from the group stepped up, fists raised. "You all need to step away from the girl." James admired his courage but felt a pang of panic. Could this stranger be trusted? The alley, once a corridor of choice, now felt like a trap closing in. No one could stand against them alone. Then, the stranger in black pulled out a small handheld device, clicking it urgently. "This runs deeper than you think. They're not just looking for her. They're hunting you, too." The weight of his words settled heavily in the air. James felt the ground shift beneath him. "What do you mean?" He couldn't comprehend the scale of the danger they faced. "It's not just about you two," the man replied, each word coated with urgency. "This entire city, no, maybe even more, is at risk. You're both part of it, and it's time to wake up." As the dark figures closed in, James could feel the panic rising within him, but with every fleeting moment, clarity formed. He turned back to Sarah, his heart entwined with hers in a turbulent whirlwind. "Stay close," he commanded. With a sudden burst of courage, James swung the wrench toward the nearest dark figure. It connected with a sickening crunch as they faltered, shock coloring their eyes. "Run!" the man in black shouted, making a break for the opening where the sirens blared even louder. "Now! Get to the car!" They sprinted, urgency fueling their limbs, but as they dashed past, James felt a hand snag his jacket. He stumbled, torn between the grasp of the dark figure and the pull of his desperate escape. "No!" he yelled, but the words were drowned out by the cacophony surrounding him. It felt like grappling with shadows, like grasping for the last tendrils of safety. The alley darkened further as fear and confusion twisted around him. He fought against the grip, realizing that time was dissolving like smoke against their faces. "We can't let them win," he shouted, seizing the wrench tighter as he readied for their next move. Suddenly, he caught a glimpse of Sarah's terrified eyes, hope flickering amid the chaos. "Don't leave me behind!" she screamed, and just like that, with the sirens wailing, bright lights flashing against the darkness, James knew he had to make a choice: stay or fight back. In that critical moment where everything hung in the balance, he pulled away forcibly, adrenaline surging through every vein, but then a voice, cool and collected, sliced through the fray. "You really think you can just walk away?" It was the dark stranger, there. Grin, a twisted mask of malevolence. James's grip tightened, heart racing. Questions swirled. How did they know everything? What sins had they stumbled into? And what did it mean for Sarah, for him? The world felt like it was closing in, the weight of choices heavy on his shoulders. But before answers could emerge, more shadows loomed, ready to strike. Would they escape the grip of darkness, or would fate pull them deeper into a night fraught with peril? The grip tightened around James's arm, and his heart slammed against his ribs like a wild beast. The weight of the dark figure pinned him down, dragging him closer into their suffocating shadow. The wrench felt like a toy compared to the looming threat. "Let him go." Sarah's voice sliced through the chaos, filled with courage that impressed James even amid the fear. But the darkness didn't budge, it simply laughed, a raspy sound that churned his stomach. "That's not how this works, sweetheart," the figure sneered, displaying wicked intentions with a glint in their eye. "We're just getting started." James's breath came in quick bursts, and as he struggled, a part of him wanted to scream. But he could see Sarah's horror reflected in the darkening alley, and a wave of determination surged through him. He could not show weakness, not now. With a desperation built from adrenaline, he swung the wrench with all his might, catching the dark figure off guard. It connected with a satisfying thud, the impact sending shockwaves through his arm. The figure stumbled back, releasing James just enough for him to break free. Run! He roared, his jaw clenched, even as they surrounded him in a tide of darkness. This was not just a fight for survival. It was about protecting Sarah. All of it felt far bigger than either of them knew. The alleyway opened up ahead, illuminated by the erratic flashing of police lights. The man in black had darted ahead, but James's focus was on Sarah, her figure like a beacon under the swirling chaos. He grabbed her hand, their fingers intertwining like lifelines, and they raced toward the exit. The dark figures regrouped, their numbers swelling like shadows bleeding into one another. James glanced back, chest tightening when he heard one of them hiss, "They want to get far." As they burst into an open street, the cacophony of sirens grew louder, but oddly, the police presence did nothing to quell the tension. The shadows melted into the crowd, hiding seamlessly among startled faces, but James felt their gaze linger on him. What did they want? Why now? He could feel the weight of an invisible mark on their backs, a branding that screamed danger. In the frenetic dance of adrenaline, their escape felt painfully incomplete. Suddenly, a dark SUV screeched to a halt nearby, its windows tinted and engine growling like a beast ready to pounce. The man in black leaned against it, urgency blending with fury as he beckoned them closer. "Get in. We don't have time." "Are you kidding?" James shot back, muscles tensed, unwilling to let his guard down. "Why should we trust you?" "Because they're closing in." The man's voice was sharp, electric with urgency. He gestured wildly to the figures that prowled like predators among the crowd, their intentions written across their faces. This wasn't just a question of trust anymore, it was a question of survival. James grabbed Sarah's hand tighter, indifference to the pounding of his heart drowning in the realization that every second counted. With no time for hesitation, they bolted toward the SUV. In one swift motion, the man threw open the door, urgency thrumming in the air as they squeezed inside. The darkness loomed outside, a tangible threat hovering like dark clouds that refused to rain, but promise of safety loomed ahead. The vehicle peeled away just as figures lunged toward them, shadows stretching to reach the retreating car. The man slammed on the gas, urgency whirled around them as they sped into the unknown. Exhaustion crashed heavily against James's chest, yet the rush of adrenaline blurred the edges of fatigue. Virginia, tangled with urgency and disbelief, filled the aching silence in the car. "What is going on?" he demanded, raw tension spilling into his voice. "You're both in far more danger than you realize," the man replied, eyes fixed ahead as they navigated the streets. "It doesn't stop here. We're being hunted, and they want you too for something big, something you can't even fathom." The weight of his words pressed against them, temptation and fear melting into one as profound silence settled. In the vehicle, James felt the churning in his gut deepen. What had they stumbled into? Just as the shadows of doubt began to fade, the man's phone buzzed violently. He snatched it up, face pale as he read the message. "They've tracked us," he breathed, tension stretching taut in the air. "They know where we are." James's heart sank. They were far from safe, and the hunt was just beginning. A shadow lurked close behind. Would they find a way to fight back, or would they be swallowed whole by the darkness pursuing them? The resolution felt distant, but what lay ahead held a promise of revelations that might shatter the very understanding of their reality. The SUV churned through the rain-slick streets, blurring the world behind them. The man remained glued to the wheel, eyes darting to the rearview mirror, a hawk surveying its prey. James couldn't shake the gnawing anxiety that twisted like a forked knife in his gut. He watched Sarah as she pressed her back against the seat, her expression a mix of fear and disbelief. "Who are they?" she finally asked, her voice trembling. "What do they want with us?" The man took a deep, steadying breath. "I'm Hunter," he said, keeping his gaze locked on the road. "And the people after you, after all of us, are part of a much larger game. They're ruthless, and they always play to win." "Game?" James echoed, confusion clouding his thoughts. "What kind of game?" "A dangerous one. It involves power more than any of us could handle." He snickered darkly. And it seems you both have unknowingly become the pieces on the board. What do you mean, pieces? Sarah pressed, gripping her hands tightly in her lap, desperation spilling into every word. Hunter glanced at them, his eyes flashing with an edge of urgency. There are secrets in your lives that you don't even know exist. We all play a part in a much larger conspiracy and network that reaches far beyond what you can comprehend. For some reason, you two matter to them. But we're just normal people. James protested, adrenaline lighting a fire in his voice. We don't want anything to do with this. Hunter nodded slowly, his expression hardening. That's exactly the problem. They want you in this fight whether you realize it or not. And if we don't stop them, they'll use you to escalate the war that will unfold. The tension inside the SUV was palpable. James felt the weight of Hunter's words, a mixture of disbelief and dread. He shot a wary glance out the window, half expecting the dark figures to materialize from the shadows. Instead, a cityscape blurred by neon lights and the bustling life that seemed so far removed from their perilous reality. Why should we trust you? Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper. We don't even know you. I get that, Hunter replied, his grip tightening on the wheel. But you don't have time to question my motives. They're mobilizing. We need to get to a safe house. The urgency in his tone sent another wave of fear through James, but then a yellow light flickered in Hunter's eyes. They're here, he hissed. That a sudden pounding on the side of the vehicle nearly made James jump from his seat. He turned just in time to see several dark figures surrounding the SUV, their faces obscured, but the threat radiated from them like wildfire. Drive! James shouted, panic rising. Like a lion cornered, he felt instinct kick in. Adrenaline surged, infusing him with a desperate strength as he leaned forward in his seat. Get us out of here. Hunter slammed his foot on the gas. The SUV lurched forward, tires screeching against the pavement, but the figures kept pace, too many shadows chasing too close. We need a plan. Sarah yelled, her voice rising above the chaos. There is no plan. Hunter shouted back, sweat beading on his forehead. Just hold on. The SUV careened down a narrow alley, graffitied walls flying past in a blurred rush. A flurry of commotion erupted outside, the figures weaving through the chaos in pursuit. James's heart thudded against his ribs. This was more than just a fight for survival. They were being hunted, embroiled in an underground war that threatened to consume them. Suddenly, Hunter took a sharp turn, and the world outside twisted into a kaleidoscope of colors, the sounds of pursuit fading for an instant. They skidded to a stop in front of a dilapidated warehouse, its windows shattered and darkness oozing from every crack. This is it, Hunter declared, urgency in his movements as he flung open the door. Out! We need to move. As they scrambled from the SUV, James felt a surge of dread. Were they truly safe here? Behind them, a chorus of shouts echoed, feet pounding, relentless shadows drawing closer. The escape they thought they'd achieved felt like slipping sand. Inside! Hunter shouted, shoving them ahead. We don't have much time. But as James crossed the threshold, dread twisted in his gut. What awaited them behind those crumbling walls? Answers or more nightmares? He glanced at Sarah, her eyes wide with fear, but there was something else sparkling in them too, a flicker of resolve. What truth lay ahead that would challenge their everyday lives? He could only feel it beckoning them forward as they fled the pursuing darkness, diving into the unknown. And just before the doors slammed shut behind them, James heard a chilling voice echo in the distance. You can't hide forever. What dark secrets lay beyond that threshold, and would they be strong enough to confront them? The door slammed shut behind them with a finality that echoed in the vast emptiness of the warehouse. Dust motes danced in the dim light as James and Sarah were plunged into near darkness. The quiet inside was unsettling, a stark contrast to the chaos they had just escaped. Where do we go now? Sarah breathed, her voice a mere whisper, still buzzing with adrenaline. Hunter. James turned to find their guide, but he was already scanning the space, eyes narrowing in concentration. Hunter pointed to a staircase shrouded in shadows at the far corner. "We need to get up there. The roof access will help us stay hidden while I figure out our next move." "Next move?" James felt the weight of dread settle heavily on his shoulders again. "What next move? We don't even know why they're after us." Hunter's lips pressed into a thin line. "I know, and that's what scares me. We don't have time for explanations. Just trust me." But trust was a slippery thing. It felt almost impossible at this moment. James exchanged a glance with Sarah, who nodded, her resolve stronger now. They had to stick together, wherever this nightmare led. The staircase creaked beneath their weight as they ascended, the sound threatening to expose them. James's heart thudded loudly in his ears. The dim light spilling from the windows above felt both welcome and foreboding. They reached the top and pushed through a door that opened to the roof. The cold air hit like a slap, and for a moment the fear eased, replaced by an acute awareness of their vulnerability. They were out in the open, exposed to the city skyline and whatever lay below. "Over here." Hunter gestured toward a low wall, its surface covered in rusted scraps of metal. "We can hide behind this until it's safe." They huddled together, trying to quell their breaths, straining to listen for any sign of their pursuers. The hum of the city faded into the background, leaving only the riot of their hearts and the whispered gusts of wind. After what felt like an eternity, Hunter peered over the wall. "I think we lost them." But as James tried to calm his erratic breathing, a faraway sound pierced the night, a low rumble that quickened into a heavy roar. "They're near," he murmured, panic creeping back into his chest, tightening like a vice. Hunter glanced over the edge again, tension coiling in his body. "We might have to make a break for it. If they find us here, there's no escape. Where would we even go?" Sarah's voice trembled, her body rigid beside him. Hunter hesitated, uncertainty flashing in his eyes. "The only safe place I know of is in the opposite direction of where we came. But it's a risk, isn't it all a risk?" James countered, urgency sparking in his mind. "Whatever those people want from us, we can't keep hiding forever. We have to face them head on." Sarah's hand squeezed his arm, grounding him in the moment. "What if we just suddenly..." An ominous sound broke through, a body thudding against the metal door below, more shouts exploding into the night air. "They're here." Hunter cursed, the color draining from his face. "Can we go back down?" Sarah's voice was panicked as she peered over the edge. "No way," Hunter said firmly. "We have to take our chances up here." James could feel the air thicken with tension. They were trapped, both in a fight for survival and in their own fears. "Are you both ready?" Hunter asked, looking at them with a fierce determination that ignited something within James. "Ready as we'll ever be," James replied, clenching his jaw. "Then we go." They braced themselves, ready to leap into the unknown once more. Just as they were about to move, James heard it again, a voice, deep and familiar, slicing through the chaos. "You can't hide forever." The words ignited an overwhelming sense of dread within him, but he stifled it. "Let us go," Hunter urged, and they bolted across the rooftop, adrenaline fueling their every step. But in the back of James's mind lurked a chilling thought: who were these people really, and what did they want from him and Sarah? The chase was spiraling deeper, but would they find answers or meet their end in the darkness? And who among them would be willing to make the ultimate sacrifice to protect what they held dear? As they tore across the gritty rooftop, James felt the cosmos of uncertainty swirling in the air around them. The night sky was an impenetrable tapestry of black, punctuated only by the flickering glow of distant streetlights below. Hunter led the way, his urgency palpable, while Sarah clung tightly to James's hand, anchoring him to the reality of their precarious situation. "Go, go," Hunter urged, jumping over a gap between rooftops, landing with nimble grace. James followed, his muscles bursting with adrenaline, while Sarah's footfalls wavered behind him. He shot a quick glance back. He could feel the darkness creeping up, like a bad dream refusing to release him, they reached another ladder leading down, and Hunter hoisted himself first. We need to reach the underground subway. They 1T expect us there. Is it safe? James asked, dread creeping back as he helped Sarah down, her face a picture of grim determination. We have no choice. Hunter's eyes flickered with fear. They descended rapidly, while the sound of footsteps and chaos loomed closer. The warehouse above them erupted with violent shouts as their pursuers converged. At the bottom of the ladder, they broke through a door marked with red paint, entering a narrow alley cloaked in looming shadows. The acrid scent of damp trash hit them, mixed with urgency and desperation. This way. Hunter guided them into the hidden entrance of the subway station, holding the door just long enough for them to slip through. Once inside, a world of flickering lights and ragged echoes enveloped them. They were deep below the city's surface, concealed from the chaos above. But here, the atmosphere was thick with tension and uncertainty. What now? James panted, catching his breath against the cool concrete wall. Hunter pressed his fingers to his temple, composing himself. We need to locate a safe route, preferably toward the east side of the city. He checked his phone, but the signal was dead. Damn. They might have scrambled our routes. We have to be careful. Why didn't you tell us about this earlier? Sarah interrupted. We've been thrown into danger and you're giving us only bits of information. Would it matter? Hunter snapped. They're after you because of secrets you don't even realize exist. The frustration in his voice echoed off the concrete, the weight of desperation hanging heavy in the air. What do you mean? James felt his heartbeat quicken. What secrets? Hunter took a deep breath, visibly trying to calm the storm brewing in his head. You both are caught in a web that goes far beyond this night. People looking for power want what you hold, and that has something tied to your past. Some thread of your lives connects you to them. What are you saying? Sarah stepped closer, her expression a mixture of hope and dread. I can't explain everything right now. But you need to trust me, there's more to your history than you know. The danger is bigger than any of us anticipated. Just remember, times like this, people reveal who they truly are. We don't have many allies left. Before James could respond, a distant rumbling grew louder, sending shocks of panic through his veins. The echoes of footsteps approached, the dark figure pursuing them relentless, growing ever closer. Hide! Hunter whispered urgently, pulling them into the shadows behind a concrete pillar as the echoing footsteps approached. James could feel Sarah's trembling hands tighten around his waist as they pressed themselves as flat and still as possible. The dark figure sprinted past, cursing under his breath, his eyes scanning for any sign of movement. The tension held for a heartbeat, then they heard more footsteps coming from another tunnel. This way! Hunter whispered fiercely, pulling them back onto the path. They sprinted deeper into the winding tunnels, adrenaline surging again, hearts pounding hard against their ribs. There was no way out until they found the truth, preferably before the looming darkness caught up to them. After navigating through a series of twisting passages, they stumbled upon an old maintenance room, cluttered with dusty equipment and graffiti-laden walls. It looked abandoned, but just in case, James kicked a chair against the door to barricade it. What are we doing? Sarah gasped, panting and scanning the dim room for exits. I need to think, Hunter responded, his tone gravelly. The subway isn't safe for long. We can't afford to be cornered. But we can access directly to the east side from here. There's a maintenance tunnel that leads out. So you're just leading us further down? James's voice shook with urgency. What if they catch us? What if they're waiting for us? Hunter's eyes lit with determination. That's where this ends. We have to make a stand. If we're going to confront whatever this is, we have to do it on our own terms. If we stay quiet, we're as good as dead. With adrenaline coursing through his veins, James nodded slowly. Maybe we can't pull back. Maybe it's time to uncover what is going on. Let us not be the prey anymore. They exchanged a look of mutual understanding. This was their moment. Whatever fate awaited them, they'd face it together. Hunter moved forward, leading them to the exit of the maintenance room while James put his arm around Sarah, a silent promise that he would keep her safe. And as they stepped into the unknown, ready to uncover the depths of mysteries long kept in the shadows, every heartbeat felt like a drumroll announcing the dawn of a new battle, one they were determined to win. As they navigated through the murky depths, the question lingered: would they find the truth at the end of this tunnel, or would the truth be something no one was ready to face? It felt like an ending, but somehow he knew it was just the beginning. Before the darkness could swallow them whole, James could feel something powerful tugging within him, an urge that demanded he fight back. Together, they would rise from the ashes, with their pasts igniting a future built on truth and resilience. This was only the first chapter of their courageous return into the light, and with that, the weight of the whole night shifted slightly. They were no longer just running. They were finally reclaiming their lives. Now it was time to take back everything that belonged to them. But do you want to be part of the adventure beyond this point? You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss the next exclusive story unfolding in their lives. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep this journey alive. Flood the comments section with your thoughts on their fight for freedom and the secrets they might unleash, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this thrilling conclusion. Let us grow this community together. Let us turn this journey into history.